Hello everyone, welcome back to J-toyautoworks, where we take a closer look at RC. I'm your host Ryan. In today's video, we're going to take a closer look at how your motor or differentials could be hindering your racing or drifting ability. We're going to get started right after this. Alright guys, so jumping right into some of the things you're going to want to check after you've just built, bought, or purchased a secondhand RC car is check some of the functions. So let's take a look and see if we can get some response from the car, ensuring that the remote and the receiver work. So we're going to go ahead and plug up the battery. What you're going to want to do is make sure you turn your remote on first. In this case, get a little red indicator light. The next thing you're going to want to do is turn on the car. Alright, so now both pieces are on. Now we haven't done anything. We saw a little bit of movement, but nothing so far has been checked. Alright, so let's go ahead and start messing around with the remote and see what we get. Alright, so first step, let's go ahead and check the throttle. We'll get a little pull in there. We're noticing that one wheel isn't really moving. Alright. So not really sure why the one particular wheel isn't moving, but you can see there is movement, the motor is working, and the wheels are spinning, all right? So we'll go ahead and ease off the throttle. Let's check our reverse. All right, so with reverse, all the wheels are working, all right? All wheels are turning on reverse. So at the very least, we have differentials connected to drive shafts, it's connected to your motor. So all the components are in fact working. Now it's a matter of seeing are they working correctly so that your car can drift or race the way that you want it to. So it's not quite time to play yet. Let's take a closer look and see what we find. All right, so now that we got a closer look here, I don't necessarily want to keep pulling on the throttle. It's going to be kind of interrupting the video, but what I have done is I've taken a closer look and I've identified that when you pull the throttle initially, let's go ahead and turn this bad boy off. Initially, you're pulling the throttle and you're accelerating forward, okay? And then when you want to go in reverse, you pull the throttle or push it backwards, and that will kind of give you your braking or your e-brake sort of function so that your car can get those good slides in there. Now, when you're doing this, there's a couple of things that you want to look out for, and in this case we're not getting on the car. What's happening is the car is not coming to a quick stop. So if you have all your wheels turning and you go ahead and hit the brake, it's just kind of rolling to just a gentle stop. And furthermore, if you try to push the brake or the e-brake function by pushing depressing the throttle forward, it does not actually trigger the back wheels to lock up. So they're still just spinning at a really slow pace. Now, what should happen, like I said, they should lock up, and then after you do lock them up, you want to get back on the throttle again so that you can get them spinning. Now, that's not happening, and in fact, a couple of times it just does not move anymore. So you kind of run into an issue to where your car is just kind of dead. You might have to repress the forward the throttle again, or hit the reverse and then the throttle again in order to get it to work. So everything that you have communicates with the remote. So if there's an issue with the communication, that's possibly what we're looking at, seeing that it's having trouble going in the forward and reverse directions. So let's take a quick look at the remote and see if we can identify any potential problems. So at first glance, you can probably see that there's a button that says throttle position. So I'll point to it here. It is this very bottom one right here, okay? So what you can do with this particular switch is you can choose which way the motor turns when you pull the throttle, okay? Now that's only relating to the actual orientation of the motor, okay? It's not saying that you put it in reverse, it's only gonna work in reverse, all right? So now that we've identified that on the remote, that is a configurable item, something that we can control, and we're talking about these switches and what they possibly do, probably towards the end of the video. Comment if your remote has a bunch of crazy functions. Maybe some of them have digital, so yours is digital, has a lot of crazy functions and options that the remote can do. Leave a comment below and let us know what kind of remote you have, and stick around to the end of the video where I'll go over briefly what these other functions control. All right, so now that we got that, let's bring the car back in and let's flip these switches around and see what happens when we actually start pulling the remote in different modes. As I was messing with the remote here, I've identified that when you pull the trigger and when you have it in the reverse mode, so you're pushing the trigger forward, the wheels are moving, so we still get that. But here's the kicker. I'll do this real quick. Hopefully it's not too loud. So you can see that the wheel actually stops pretty quick. That's what we're looking for. That's what you want it to do. Okay, you don't want it to just like occasionally, you know, maybe sometimes work. You need it to work consistently all the time. All right. Now, in order to fix this, we'll have to take a few things apart. Okay, rear differential. We'll have to take apart the front just to make sure that everything is okay. But essentially, what we're doing is we need to rotate the differential gear. So the gear is sitting on one side and it's spinning pinion at the back. So what we need to do is flip the gear around so the pinion is going the other way. Okay, and that's going to make it so that we have all the functions that we need. Now, why are we going to have to take both of them off? Well, because sometimes some of your differentials only work in one direction. So you might have a one-way or a two-way, and that will affect what you can do as far as your e-brake capability, or if there's any power to the front wheels when you're actually under acceleration. Some people don't necessarily like that. They want complete rear-wheel drive vehicle. So that's something that they would do. So in that case, we'll have to take a deeper dive into tearing this particular vehicle down and working on that. That is something we are going to do in the next video. Now, as promised, what I will do is we will talk about the remote real quick. I'll put a little image up here on the screen, but essentially what you have is you have your steering trim. Okay, so this is going to allow you to, once you turn the car on, your steering is going to kind of fix itself. Now, sometimes it might fix itself a little to the right. That's not really helping you, is it? So if you want the car to go dead straight, you can use the steering trim and it will slowly move the wheels back to center. Okay, same thing if it's to the left, you can slowly move the trim and it'll come back to center. So that's what the steering trim is for. All right, now the next trim you have is your throttle. If you turn your car on and for whatever reason it just wants to keep going, it just doesn't want to stop anywhere, your throttle trim might be all the way up. Okay, in one direction or the other. It does go forward and reverse, just like the steering goes left and right. Now, that also affects your sensitivity on the throttle. Okay, so now if you want really crisp throttle, as soon as you pull it, you want it to just launch off, then you can set that trim to where the car is almost moving, where there's only enough friction between the road surface you're racing on and the motor, the gearing, to just kind of hold the car in place. And as soon as you hit the throttle, it's gonna take off. Now back here, remember at the bottom we talked about your servos. So you can have your steering set in a reverse manner as well. So a normal and reverse. And you can have your throttle. That's one we've been working with today. Gonna be what we continue to work on in the next episode as well, as far as making sure this thing works the way that we need it to. So those are the overview of the functions. Of course, you have your on-off button, but generally speaking, that's mainly it. There is going to be some people who comment below that have much fancier remotes. That's something that's optional. A lot more capability, a lot more screen time that you can use as far as different modes, options, and selections. So like I said, get with some of the people in the comments. I'll bring up another remote in a later video that does have a screen, and we can take a look at that one at a later date. All right, guys, so thanks for joining in today. Just another quick video, something for us to keep in mind when you purchase, pick up, or maybe get a vehicle secondhand, is that sometimes when you're putting these together, not everything goes according to plan. Essentially what would happen is if you get this thing out on the track and you're trying to have a little bit of fun, you'll be good in a straight line. It can drive, it'll turn, but as soon as you go to slow down, it will just instantly hit reverse and it will just flip and do a 180. Okay, now you might be thinking, well, that might be good for drift because you want it to slide around. Not really the case. So what happens if you're going to go to drift, you want the car to go along, you hit the e-brake. You might even go ahead and get that inertia in there. You hit the e-brake, it will slide around, and you'd be able to hit the gas again, and you'll propel the wheels to go forward some more. Now, in this case, what happens is you're going to go straight down. As soon as you hit reverse, pushing the trigger forward, as soon as you do that, it's going to instantly kick in reverse, and the same thing is going to happen. You're going to slide and you're going to lose control of your vehicle. All right, so it's a good thing that we went over that. Something that you guys can play around with your own cars. Turn on the remote, turn on the vehicle, press the throttle, see what happens on there, monitor what happens when you go to hit the e-brake. It should stop. It needs to come to a stop quickly and abruptly, okay? And then from there on, once you have that working, then you can decide how aggressive you want the braking to be, all right? But first and foremost, you need it to be able to go, and you need it to stop before you can actually have fun messing with your car. So we went over the remote a little bit, some of the functions, throttle, steering trims, throttle positioning, okay, normal and reverse in relation to your car, making sure that it can go and stop abruptly, quickly, so that you can get the drifts in, or if you're racing circuit, so you can get a good, nice slowdown before your turns. Now, keep in mind that this video, we did not tear it down, so something does need to be fixed. In the next video, stay tuned for that. It's going to be coming out real soon, to where we take this apart. I'll show you the insides of this particular car, and then we'll figure out what needs to be swapped, identify what needs to be flipped 180, so that we can go ahead and get this thing on the road. I appreciate everyone for watching today. I appreciate everyone who's donated on the GoFundMe account, and I look forward to seeing everyone in the next episode of J-toyautoworks.